The uproar from the people of Ghana over the scandalous lithium contract their government has signed refuses to die down. Many prominent Ghanaians have added their voice to calls for the contract to be withdrawn, as it is not in the best interest of Ghana. The former Ghanaian Chief Justice, Madam Sophia Ekufo, together with Council of State member Mr. Samoku Jeto, are just but two of many influential Ghanaians who have come out to oppose the lithium agreement. Madam Sophia Ekufo has described the lithium agreement as not any different from previous colonial types of deals, saying it is not different in principle, in the substance from any of Ghana's previous colonial times types of agreements. Some call it the Gettysburg model, whatever description. All those agreements are colonial type of agreements, which over the years have yielded very little good to the overall benefits of the average Ghanaian. And Mr. Samoku Jeto has also stated categorically that the lithium agreement is not in the best interest of Ghana, and called on Ghana's parliament to step in and protect the national interests. In spite of all the growing opposition from well-meaning and informed Ghanaians, the government officials who agreed and signed the lithium contract continue to vehemently defend the deal. This defense has been led by Ghana's Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Jinapor, who continues to insist that the terms of the contract are the best for Ghana. These terms he refers to include Ghana being entitled to just 10% of royalties, 13% free carried interest, and 1% of revenue for a community development fund. In our previous video on this subject, titled Lithium, How Ghana's Leaders Have Ripped Their People Off, we showed how the agreement Ghana's government has signed is far from the best deal, as the minister will want Ghanaians to believe. In that video, we showed how governments in other countries, specifically Bolivia, Chile, and Mexico, are pursuing far beneficial terms for their lithium. In Mexico, one of the countries we focused on, the government has nationalized their lithium and designated it as a strategic resource whose exploration, production, and commercialization is exclusive to the state. In a press briefing, the Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, stated, "We have to protect this coveted mineral. It belongs to the nation. We cannot allow it to pass into the hands of corporations or hegemonic powers." President López Obrador has made clear his determination to ensure that Mexico's lithium benefits the people of Mexico and not foreigners. He famously declared that, "What we are doing now is to nationalize lithium so that it cannot be exploited by foreigners from Russia, China, or the United States." In order to achieve this, President López Obrador has created a state-owned lithium company to oversee all operations related to the extraction and processing of Mexico's lithium. The Mexican president has served notice to any foreign private mining company seeking to participate in Mexico's lithium sector that they will be required to be minority partners in joint ventures with the state-owned lithium company. President López Obrador has made it clear that Mexico must own majority shares in any partnership with a foreign company to mine the lithium, saying it can be 51% to 49%, but it must be majority Mexican. The Mexican state of Sonora is where massive deposits of lithium have been discovered so far, and the Mexican president has made it clear that any lithium extracted in Sonora will have to be used to make electric vehicle batteries at plants in that same state. In addition, the batteries made in Sonora will solely be used in electric vehicles made in the same state, making clear the Mexican president's determination to ensure maximum benefits for the local economy. So there you have a real-life example from elsewhere in the world about how another government is safeguarding the best interests of its people ahead of foreign and private interests. So now back to Ghana. In actual fact, the joint ventures with foreign mining companies that Mexico is exploring and the setting up of a state-owned lithium company are also ideas that have been put forward by Madam Sophia Ekufo and Ghana's Institute of Economic Affairs, but all of this have been rejected by the relevant government officials. Instead, the sector minister continues to tout the agreement with a paltry 10% royalties and 13% free carried interest as unprecedented and deserving of praise. In a flyer created by the government, the 10% royalties Ghana will be entitled to is described as an exceptional deal. According to the minister, this is because it surpasses a supposed industry norm of 5%. But if the minister could flout this supposed industry norm and go beyond the 5%, then surely he could have aimed for higher than 10%. Why not 20 or 30 or even 50%? Is it not tragic that in this day and age, a leader of a great nation like Ghana will be proud to increase royalties from a shocking 5% to a laughable 10%? Also, Dr. Tony Otinjesi, who is the board chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority, has pointed out how the free carried interest Ghana is entitled to in all the mines are a pittance compared to the value of minerals that are mined. According to him, the 10% carried interest in the mines has yielded insignificant returns over the years.
Our laws mandate 10% free shareholding by the state in every mine. But some mines declare little or no profit. So dividends from the shareholding are a pittance compared with the value of minerals being mined. It is known and the published view of the Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative that, I quote, the 10% carried interest has yielded insignificant returns over the years, unquote.
And yet, Ghana's Minister for Natural Resources wants his people to praise him simply because he has moved Ghana's free carried interest from the usual 10% to 13%. Also, Ghana government officials are bragging about the 1% of revenue allocated to a community development fund, whereas in Bolivia, local community leaders are demanding as much as a 15% share of revenue from under 3% in their current law. Their basis for making this demand is that they are the owners of the riches, hence they need to get the biggest benefits. In their attempt to defend why the government settled for such a small stake instead of seeking to own a majority stake as the rightful owner of the resource, government officials have claimed that Ghana does not have the physical or technical capacity to make majority ownership possible. But in response to this, seasoned Ghanaian economist Dr. John Kwame has called for the lithium to be left in the ground until Ghana is able to negotiate a good deal. This call has been supported by many Ghanaians who are tired of seeing their leaders sign bad deals for their natural resources. And in any case, the CEO of Atlantic Lithium, Keith Muller, has revealed that his company has invested just about $40 million up from 2016 till the point of obtaining the mining license. And according to InvestorsChronicle.co.uk, the American company Pittance Lithium Limited has an agreement with Australia's Atlantic Lithium to invest $102 million in exchange for owning 50% of the mining project in Ghana. These amounts put together is far less than, say, the $250 million that Ghana is spending on a new central bank headquarters. Clearly, it is less about Ghana lacking the capacity to make the required investment and more about the unwillingness of Ghana's government to seriously pursue such a path. And the decision by Ghana's government, through its Minerals Income Investment Fund, to acquire another 6% in a mining operation and 3.06% in Atlantic Lithium at an initial cost of $32.9 million shows this. One would have expected that, with Ghana's long history of not benefiting from her natural resources, the country's leaders would be determined to begin a new chapter by breaking away from the old ways of signing deals that do not benefit the people. But Ghanaian leaders are refusing to show any sense of national pride or patriotism, as Mexico's president, for instance, has done. They refuse to even consider the idea of Ghana owning a majority stake in their own lithium and see nothing wrong with foreigners owning the lion's share. A former CEO of Ghana's Minerals Commission, Tony Orbin, has also come out to criticize the lithium agreement and described the marginal increases in royalties and carried interest as tokenistic. Parts of a statement he issued expressing his opinion on the lithium agreement reads, "After a careful analysis of the recent agreement for the development of our lithium resources in Ewoya in the central region of Ghana, I have come to the conclusion that Ghana failed to take advantage of the current importance and global demand for lithium. The increase in royalty rate and free carry interest announced by the government pale into significance if one considers the current and possible future global demand for the commodity. In the recent case of Ghana, apart from the opaqueness with which this new mineral deal has been negotiated, the current marginal increase in the existing rates of benefit sharing for lithium is nothing more than cosmetic and tokenistic. Lithium and the family of critical minerals are now so important that it was an opportunity sent from heaven for Ghana to redeem itself from the shackles of existing post-colonial mining framework to one that is responsive to global, current and local situations. In short, given the criticality and present global demands for lithium and other critical minerals, our present agreement is a lost opportunity to exact optimal benefit for Ghana. Simpliciter."
God has been so good to us. In 2023, He's shown us that we have more minerals. Lithium is the next gold in the world. It's the next gold in the world. Yeah. We have lithium, we have oil, we have glass sand, and we have silica. all the components of what? An emerging
the current
added
technology
value
that
technology. Oh, we have it here, including oil, which if we are really screwed on right, we can turn that oil into plastic pellets to do panels for electric cars.
If we're screwed on right.
Yes, we're screwed on right.
It means that we're not thinking right.
No, we're not screwed on right. We're not screwed on right. Not unless we stop this personal interest nonsense that we do in our politics. Forget it. We ain't going to get nothing. Because the politicians we have today think of themselves and think of their parties before they think of country. Look, if country is doing well, everybody will do well. And I keep saying, Ghana can look after all of us comfortably with the kind of natural resources we have. Right now, are we not mining gold in the north? Didn't AGC come back? And they're in the north. And the gold they are mining in the north is one of the best in the world. How much are we getting out of it? Have we even been able to energize the refinery we said we've built here? Have we been able to do it? So how do you expect that the bullion you're exporting, you can make money out of it? And I always use this example of the Chinese taking our first bauxite out. When they got to China, what did they do? They extruded all the gold out of it. Are we thinking? Are we a thinking people?
Now, check out this headline from the business website Bloomberg. And then check out the opening paragraph to the story. Africa's first major lithium project without Chinese funding is set to bolster US ambitions to develop its own battery-making industry. From the headline and the opening paragraph, one may not know that they are talking about Ghana's lithium, but that is exactly the lithium project that they are referring to. Clearly, in the estimation of Bloomberg, from their analysis of the terms of the agreement that Ghana has signed, the big winner is not Ghana or Ghanaians, but the United States. The major factor accounting for this can be found in the second paragraph of the story. Half of the output from Ghana's Ewoyaa mine, being built by Australia's Atlantic Lithium Limited, is earmarked for a refinery that Piedmont Lithium Limited plans to construct in Tennessee. Piedmont, by the way, is Atlantic Lithium's second largest shareholder. The story includes comments from the CEO of Piedmont, Keith Phillips, who said to Bloomberg that our investment in Ewoyaa will help alleviate potential future US supply constraints and provide crucial resources to help reduce America's dependence on foreign nations like China. So even before the lithium agreement is placed before Ghana's parliament, half of the yet-to-be-mined lithium is already destined for a refinery in the US. This is all in spite of the big talk by Ghana's minister about the agreement he signed ensuring that there will be value addition in Ghana. In making comparisons to justify the bad deal he has signed, Minister Jenapo has used Zimbabwe as a reference, but he must be unaware of the fact that Zimbabwe has banned the export of raw lithium, a decision that has also been taken by the governments of Namibia and Nigeria in Africa, and by Mexico, Bolivia and others elsewhere. According to the CEO of Ghana's Minerals Income Investment Fund, Edward Cranton, Ghana's government cannot just claim because Ghana owns the resource, the state should grab more from their investors. Also, he opposes nationalization, as the governments of Mexico, Bolivia and Chile have all done, because according to him, it does not work. But nationalization is simply a government taking rightful control of resources that belong to the people, in a bid to ensure that the people and not private interests are the chief beneficiaries. In fact, Ghana's constitution makes the people the ultimate owners of all natural resources, and yet Ghanaian leaders have always found ways and means to hand over what belongs to the people to foreign investors. This reality is sadly far from unique to Ghana, and a look at history shows that whenever a leader anywhere has dared to nationalize natural resources that belong to the people, there have been serious attacks on that leader. Two popular historical examples immediately come to mind. The first being Iran's Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who nationalized Iran's oil and as a direct consequence was overthrown in a coup carried out by the American and British governments. Also, there is the case of Chilean President Salvador Allende, who nationalized Chile's copper mines in the early 70s and as a result got overthrown in a coup orchestrated by the US. In recent times, there is the case of Bolivia's Evo Morales, who got overthrown in a coup in 2019, in large part because he nationalized Bolivia's lithium. These instances I cite are to show what happens to leaders who dare to nationalize natural resources. If nationalization has not worked, it is simply because it has always been vehemently opposed by Western corporations and their governments, who have used every means to undermine and eliminate leaders who have nationalized resources. It must be pointed out that the nationalization of Chile's copper was in fact successful, as it provided the needed funds for the government to invest in improving the lives of the Chilean people. Also in Bolivia, Evo Morales was able to transform the country from a basket case to the fastest growing economy in South America after he nationalized Bolivia's natural resources. Nationalization does work, and is in fact the way to go for not just Ghana but all other African countries, as the wealth belongs to the people and it is they who must be the chief beneficiaries of it all. In Ghana, just like in most of Africa, citizens are being overburdened with taxes because the government claims they need to raise revenue for public spending. But the same government is overlooking the billions that it can rake in from the oil and mining sector. By increasing control in the oil and mining sector, African governments will earn billions more in revenue, thereby greatly reducing the need to overburden the already suffering masses. In line with this, Ghana's former finance minister, Dr. Kwame, has called on the government to renegotiate mining agreements, saying, "We must go back and renegotiate our mining agreements for higher revenues, rather than stick to colonial agreements to the detriment of our people." He further added, "Currently in Ghana, foreign interests are largely the main beneficiaries of our extractive sector at the expense of Ghanaians who benefit from very little revenue from our natural resources."
So we don't have to go back into the royalties. Let's talk about this. Gold, bauxite, oil, diamonds. Those are what we call traditional. Yes. All these have been since your grandfather was a baby. And with all these, we've been, since we became independent, we've been going to IMF, borrowing. We've been going borrowing with all kinds of terms. And we ask ourselves, there's this adage that if you're doing the same thing, don't expect another result. If this is how you're going to continue to exploit and extract your natural resources, don't expect ever being free of IMF. It becomes like a cyclical malaria.
So
malaria season, so you get malaria, you take medicine.
In ending, I must reiterate the call of Mr. Samuel Kujeto, who has called on all Ghanaians to join in demanding the lithium agreement is given a relook. If Bolivia and Mexico can own majority shares of their lithium, then Ghana certainly can too. Please do support us by subscribing to the channel and sharing this video to others. And please do not forget to share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching.